buried beneath silence. Not all are legends crafted to entertain. Some are places you can find on a map, ruins that still stand, whispers that still travel between walls. These stories are not fiction. They belong to reality, carved by tragedy and dread. Those who dared to investigate were never the same again, because some truths in Japan are meant to remain hidden forever, sealed away in forgotten corners. Whispers of cursed villages, abandoned tunnels, and rotting hotels spread across towns like infection. Locals refuse to speak, yet rumors survive in hushed voices, warning travelers to stay away. They say these places breathe on their own, feeding from those who enter. Curiosity might begin with innocent footsteps, but it never ends harmlessly. For those who seek proof, the proof stares back. What returns from these sites is not memory, but something far darker. What makes these stories unbearable is that they are documented, anchored in police records, urban decay, and eyewitness accounts. There are dates, names, and remnants of real lives caught within their shadows. Legends born from imagination fade, but those rooted in reality endure like scars. And Japan carries many such scars. They do not close with time. They reopen with every retelling, bleeding fear into new ears, marking the curious who dare to listen. A tunnel said to defy law, a village erased after a massacre, a hotel echoing with guests who never checked out. These are not tales trapped in books or horror movies. They exist in concrete, in dirt, in forgotten blueprints. The danger lies in mistaking them for folklore when they remain living wounds. Places where the air suffocates, and even silence presses against skin, until bones remember something unspeakable still lingers, waiting for another visitor. They are warnings disguised as stories, but every warning is also an invitation. What unsettles most is not the violence that occurred, but the absence that remains. Rooms abandoned mid-breath, corridors that shift, forests that lead nowhere. Japan holds places where the past refuses burial, where the present bends beneath invisible weight. Those who hear about them often feel curiosity grow. That curiosity is a trap, one that hungers for new names to claim. Tonight, you will hear 3 true Japanese horror stories you should never investigate. Each holds pieces of history wrapped in shadows, places that punish curiosity with scars you cannot remove. If you are brave enough to enter this descent, listen carefully, because knowing may be enough to invite them closer. Subscribe to Echoes for more stories like these, and leave a comment telling us from where you are watching, if you dare to share. Northern Japan hides stories many refuse to acknowledge. One of the darkest is Sugisawa, a village erased from every map. Rumors speak of a massacre committed by a villager who slaughtered nearly everyone. Officials dismissed the tale as myth, yet locals avoid the area. They claim government forces sealed the village, burying not only its remains, but the truth itself. What lingers is silence, heavy and unnatural, as if waiting for intruders to disturb it. Travelers who search for Sugisawa often describe strange sensations long before arriving. Roads twist into endless loops, paths disappear, and signs vanish. Villagers nearby warn outsiders that the place does not want to be found. Some say they hear screams carried by the wind, even though no houses remain. Others report seeing faint lanterns glowing in the trees, flickering like funeral fires. Those who return carry fear, claiming the village watches them afterward, everywhere they go. The story begins in the 1970s, when whispers spread of a farmer driven insane, murdering his family before rampaging through Sugisawa, cutting down neighbors until the soil seemed painted in despair. Police allegedly arrived, but found nothing alive. Soon after, Sugisawa vanished from maps and records. Authorities denied the village ever existed, yet trembling survivors recalled names and places erased from Japan. Journalists tried to investigate, but their reports vanished. Libraries held no history of Sugisawa, and archives listed no population. Yet photos sometimes surface, half-burned houses, broken streets, shattered shrines. Researchers call them forgeries, but the sorrow feels too vivid. Witnesses insist the images came from Aomori, where overgrown paths vanish into forest silence. Even without coordinates, believers keep searching. Legends describe what happens to those who find Sugisawa. They enter expecting ruins, but instead discover a village eerily intact, frozen in another decade. Lanterns burn, though no hands light them. Doors open into homes with meals half-eaten, belongings left mid-motion, as if lives were cut short in a single breath. The silence inside grows unbearable, until faint footsteps echo behind them. When they turn, they see figures staring, faces blank, watching every move with hunger. Some explorers return, shaken, unable to speak of what they witnessed. Their families describe them as hollow, drained of spirit, shadows of their former selves. They refuse to sleep in darkness, whispering that the villagers followed them back. In rare moments of clarity, they mutter about an endless dinner table, surrounded by smiling corpses. None remain long in such states. Either they vanish suddenly, or retreat into madness, carrying Sugisawa's shadow until it consumes them. Locals around Aomori whisper a chilling phrase: Sugisawa calls only once. Those who ignore the warning rarely survive without consequence. Some believe the massacre left behind a curse that bound the village, trapping its residents between existence and oblivion. Others claim the government hides the truth because the land itself became tainted, a scar too dangerous to expose. Regardless of the explanation, one detail never changes. Sugisawa remains absent from every modern map in Japan. Skeptics argue Sugisawa is simply an urban legend, a cautionary tale born of isolation and fear. Yet stories persist of hikers disappearing in Aomori forests, leaving behind only personal belongings. Rescue teams often report equipment failures near rumored locations, as if compasses refuse to cooperate. Dogs refuse to enter, pulling back violently, whimpering at unseen presences. Even rational minds admit there is a weight in those woods, a presence pressing down, urging outsiders to leave. The most disturbing accounts come from those who swear they reached the village. They describe hearing faint bells echoing from a shrine that should not exist. Trees shift unnaturally, paths alter behind them, and voices whisper their names with uncanny familiarity. Some claim the ground itself bleeds when stepped upon. Most who speak of these visions disappear soon after. Listeners wonder whether they were silenced, or whether Sugisawa itself reached out to reclaim them. Rumors spread of a boundary stone hidden deep within the forest, carved with kanji marking forbidden ground. Explorers who touch it feel instant nausea, as though the earth rejects them. Beyond that point, time bends strangely. Watches stop, daylight fades too quickly, and the air thickens. Villagers speak of those who crossed the boundary never returning. The stone is said to guard the final path to Sugisawa, a warning carved in rock against eternal trespass. At night, the village reportedly changes. Windows glow with faint light, and voices rise like a chorus. Those who hear it say it begins as laughter, turning into screams. Some explorers describe seeing figures walking in slow procession, carrying lanterns. Their faces are pale, mouths open in silent cries. When confronted, the figures vanish, only to reappear behind the intruder. At that moment, many claim the village becomes impossible to escape, locking them inside forever. Survivors often refuse to return to Aomori. They describe nightmares of corridors lined with paper walls, flickering candles, and eyes watching from the shadows. Some wake with soil on their sheets, others with scratches across their arms. A few even mutter words in dialects long abandoned, as though possessed by voices from another time. What frightens their families most is that each survivor grows quiet, whispering only one thing before silence. Sugisawa never lets go. The government's silence fuels belief that something is hidden. Conspiracy theorists argue Sugisawa's erasure was deliberate, a cover for horrors that could shake Japan. Some believe it was a ritual gone wrong, a massacre tied to dark ceremonies. Others claim it was an abandoned experiment. Regardless, the village lives in whispers, haunting believers and skeptics alike, existing in the minds of many, even if erased physically. Sugisawa is more than a legend. It is an open wound in Japan's shadowed history, one that refuses to heal. For some, it is a ghost town. For others, it is proof that darkness cannot be erased by maps or laws. The truth is simple and terrifying. Every country hides secrets, but few erase entire villages. Sugisawa remains missing, yet its presence is undeniable. The village calls, and once it does, silence is never safe again. Hidden in Fukuoka's mountains lies one of Japan's most feared places, Inunaki, the village where laws no longer apply. Its entrance begins with an abandoned tunnel, where locals speak of screams and lingering shadows. Beyond it stands the infamous Inunaki Mansion, swallowed by trees and silence. Those who dare enter describe a house that breathes, corridors twisting like a labyrinth, doors closing on their own, and rooms whispering unspeakable truths. The legend of Inunaki surged in the 1980s after a series of murders occurred near the tunnel. Police reports documented bodies discovered with brutal wounds, yet details remain obscured. Families of victims received no closure, feeding rumors that the mansion was cursed. Locals claimed the murders were not random, but part of something hidden within the village. They swore that once inside, people were marked. Inunaki did not forgive curiosity. It consumed all who entered. Travelers searching for Inunaki Mansion say electronics fail at its gates. Phones lose signal, cameras refuse to capture, and compasses spin wildly. The closer they get, the heavier the air becomes, as if resisting intrusion. The mansion appears half buried, its walls blackened, wood warped by moisture. Lanterns left by explorers flicker without fuel, casting long shadows across the veranda. Every corner feels inhabited by something unseen, restless and waiting. Those who step inside the mansion find traces of a life abandoned too suddenly. Tatami mats lie shredded, futons stained by unexplainable marks, beams sag under invisible weight. Some explorers hear laughter shifting into sobbing. Others claim to see villagers standing silently in the halls, eyes empty yet aware. When approached, the figures dissolve into smoke, leaving only a stench of rot. Inunaki feels alive, endlessly reconstructing fragments of the past. The phrase that haunts most investigators is etched into a stone at the entrance. The Japanese Constitution does not apply here. Whether vandalism or a chilling declaration, its meaning unsettles every visitor. Many interpret it as a warning, a truth carved into stone. The village, and especially the mansion, seems separated from the rest of Japan. Those who ignore the inscription feel its weight once inside, where laws of time, space, and even sanity collapse entirely. Reports claim rooms inside the mansion shift between visits. A hallway to the kitchen may stretch endlessly one night, then shrink into suffocating walls the next. In the basement, explorers describe rusted cages large enough for humans, and altars drenched in candle wax, surrounded by strange inscriptions. Whether remnants of cult rituals or imagination, none agree. Yet all explorers insist on one fact: the mansion watches, listening always. Stories circulate of a woman in white appearing inside the mansion. Witnesses describe her standing motionless in doorways, her long hair covering most of her face. Some claim she follows them from room to room, always at a distance, never making a sound. Others insist she speaks in a broken voice, repeating the same phrase, "Leave while you can." Those who ignore the warning often vanish without trace, swallowed by walls that should not exist. Locals fear the mansion as much as the tunnel. They tell stories of people entering but never returning. Villagers say they hear dogs howling near the woods, though none live there. Some believe these are guardians of Inunaki, forever bound to the land. Others insist the howls belong to victims, trapped and twisted into something inhuman. Regardless of belief, one rule persists. No one lingers in Inunaki after dark unless they seek certain ruin. Skeptics claim the mansion is only ruins amplified by imagination. Yet the disappearances tied to the area are hard to dismiss. Students, hikers, and thrill-seekers vanish often, leaving cars abandoned near the tunnel. Rescue teams enter but rarely go far, reporting failing equipment, sudden sickness, and crushing dread. Even the bravest admit the same fear. Something unseen controls Inunaki, allowing only fragments of truth to escape its grasp. One of the most disturbing legends involves a phone ringing inside the mansion. Explorers say the sound comes from deep within the house, echoing through every hall. Those who follow it find a single rotary phone on a pedestal, its cord severed, disconnected from any line, yet it continues to ring. When answered, a voice speaks in whispers, repeating the listener's full name. No one admits what comes after, because those who confess rarely survive long. Inunaki's history is unclear, adding to its terror. Some claim it was abandoned after a plague, others after mass killings. The mansion itself is rumored to have been the home of a family engaged in forbidden practices. Records of their existence are scarce, deliberately erased. Locals insist. The silence in official archives feeds the legend. When governments deny, imaginations grow. But in Japan, denial often means there is truth hidden too dangerous for light. Nightfall transforms the mansion entirely. Windows glow, though no lamps burn. Footsteps echo along empty halls. Explorers describe the feeling of being herded, as if unseen villagers direct them deeper inside. Some claim to hear chanting rising from beneath the floors, an endless hum vibrating the air. Those who turn back often find the exit gone, replaced by blank walls. By dawn, the house restores itself. By then, however, most intruders have already disappeared forever. Those who survive in Inunaki rarely speak of it again. Some lose their voices entirely. Others refuse to sleep, muttering about figures watching from shadows. A few carve warnings into paper, trembling as they write. Their message is consistent. The mansion is alive. It does not simply house spirits. It is itself a predator, bending reality to consume whoever dares disturb it. Silence follows them, an unshakable weight, as though Inunaki continues haunting their every breath. The mansion of Inunaki remains a forbidden place. Some call it myth, others swear by its horrors. What endures is the undeniable trail of missing persons, and the fear etched into every local's face. Legends may exaggerate, but something real hides in those woods. Something dark enough that even maps avoid marking its location. Inunaki does not need to prove its existence. It proves itself through absence, through silence, and through the countless who never return. On the outskirts of Hyogo Prefecture stands a ruin known as Himeji 63. Once a grand hotel, it now rots in silence, its walls stained by decades of abandonment. Locals call it cursed. They whispered that the building is not empty, but full of voices. Guests once checked in, but never left. Today, only thrill-seekers dare step inside. Many return shaken, while some vanish, leaving behind cars and belongings, as if the building swallowed them whole. The hotel was abandoned in the late 1980s, under unclear circumstances. Official records state bankruptcy, but former employees tell a different story. They describe a night when guests began screaming in their rooms, pounding on doors, yet no one was inside when opened. Some claim the owner himself fled in terror, refusing to return. Since then, the structure has decayed, yet lights are sometimes seen glowing in upper floors, where no power exists anymore. Explorers describe the entrance as suffocating. Vines choke the lobby, but the air feels wrong, heavy with mildew and something sharper. Broken chandeliers sway without wind, scattering glass across ruined carpets. Reception desks remain intact, covered in dust and guest ledgers. Names are still written clearly, but none match records of living people. Some pages even include visitors from years after closure, suggesting someone or something still checks people into Himeji 63 even today. Inside, rooms appear untouched, as though frozen mid-stay. Futons remain unrolled, suitcases rest on tatami mats, and teacups sit half full. Dust covers everything, yet footsteps appear freshly printed across the floors. Explorers report hearing phones ringing inside locked rooms. When doors are forced open, the rooms stand empty, yet the receiver still sways as if just placed down. The calls continue until silence falls suddenly, replaced by faint whispers pressing against the ears. Bathrooms terrify most visitors. Mirrors stand cracked, but reflections do not align. Some explorers swear they saw themselves smiling, though their own mouths stayed closed. Water drips endlessly from rusted faucets, though the building has no supply. Showers turn on by themselves, steaming with heat. Those who enter describe hands pressing against the glass from the inside. The marks remain even after explorers flee, as if invisible guests remain forever trapped within Himeji 63's walls. Corridors twist in impossible ways. A hallway that appears short stretches endlessly once entered. Some explorers run for minutes, only to find themselves back where they started. Stairs ascend into darkness, yet return to the same floor. It is as though the hotel bends reality, rearranging itself to trap visitors. Survivors say they heard footsteps behind them, perfectly in sync with their own, until turning revealed nothing but shadows that thickened into suffocating walls. Legends claim the hotel was the site of multiple suicides before closing. Staff spoke of guests hanging themselves from rafters, or throwing their bodies from balconies. Whether true or rumor, the energy inside reflects despair. Explorers describe rooms colder than the rest, filled with the smell of iron. Others claim to hear weeping from behind locked doors. When opened, they reveal nothing but empty tatami mats and stains on the floor that never fade. The most disturbing accounts describe the banquet hall. Once meant for celebrations, it now reeks of rot. Tables remain set with dishes, yet food appears fresh and steaming, impossible after decades of decay. Explorers hear clinking glasses and faint laughter. Some see shadowy figures seated, raising cups in silent toasts. When lights flicker, the figures vanish, leaving overturned chairs and spilled plates, as if the feast ended in violent chaos. Himeji 63's elevators seem alive. Explorers report hearing the bell chime, doors opening to reveal empty shafts or unlit corridors that do not exist elsewhere in the building. Some describe stepping inside only to arrive at floors filled with endless rooms repeating themselves, each identical yet wrong in subtle ways. Furniture appears reversed, mirrors show strangers, and walls breathe faintly. No one who has ridden the elevator claims to have reached the same place twice. In the upper floors, windows refuse to open, yet explorers insist they sometimes see figures staring at them from the outside, standing on walls as if gravity reversed. Some report pounding from the other side of locked doors, growing louder until wood splinters. When opened, the hall stands empty, yet the banging continues down another corridor. The constant movement unsettles visitors most, making them believe they are not exploring ruins, but trespassing inside something alive. Locals warn of the 13th room, though no blueprints confirm its existence. Explorers describe stumbling upon a door marked with faded kanji, always appearing at different places. Inside, the air is thick and black, suffocating immediately. Some say they hear dozens of voices speaking at once, repeating their names. Those who stay too long emerge confused, forgetting hours or entire days. A few never leave at all, their companions swearing the room swallowed them. Journalists once tried to document the building but abandoned the project. Their notes described eerie interference in recordings and images showing figures not present during filming. One reporter vanished, leaving only equipment. Others refused to speak, calling the hotel an open grave. Even now, authorities avoid the site. Police dismiss trespassing reports as structural danger, yet everyone knows their fear runs deeper, rooted in something unexplainable. The hotel's reputation spreads online, with explorers posting shaky footage of halls echoing with groans. Some clips capture figures behind cameramen, vanishing as light shifts. Others include faint children's laughter, though no children were there. The most chilling show explorers screaming before the camera cuts to static. Whether hoax or real, viewers feel unease, sensing the building's hunger transcends screens. Even through recordings, Himeji 63 reaches beyond its crumbling walls. Himeji 63 stands as a monument to abandonment, yet it refuses to die. Tourists may pass it unknowingly, mistaking it for ruins, but locals avoid its shadow entirely. Legends claim the hotel does not merely trap intruders, it collects them, feeding on fear, turning rooms into graves. The truth remains hidden, just like Sugisawa and Inunaki. Together, they form Japan's darkest triad of horror. And Himeji 63 waits, patient, for another visitor who never leaves. Japan hides wounds it refuses to acknowledge. A village erased from maps, a mansion where laws collapse, and a hotel still feasting on silence. Each story is real enough to scar, whispered by those who never returned unchanged. They are not simply legends. They are reminders that curiosity has a cost. In Sugisawa, in Inunaki, and Himeji, that cost is everything you are. Some truths do not wait to be uncovered. They reach for you instead. What unsettles most is not the violence itself, but the absence left behind. Maps without villages, police without answers, ruins that breathe. These places echo with unfinished screams, collecting new names whenever someone dares enter. Legends blur with evidence, leaving only uncertainty. And uncertainty is often worse than proof. Those who search risk becoming part of the story, swallowed whole by shadows that never needed permission to follow. In Japan, silence speaks louder than truth. Tonight's descent has ended, but the echoes remain. Every village, tunnel, and hotel waits for another name, another breath, another curious soul unwilling to believe warnings. Japan remembers its scars too vividly to let them fade, and now you remember them too. Whether you believe or not, you have already been marked by listening. Some doors cannot be unopened, some truths cannot be unheard, and once they know your name, they never let you go.